Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Wow Talk. Tonight is going to be an interesting interview because I've actually gotten time to know this person. I know she's an awesome person. We've had quite a bit of experiences together on Jaffe Ryder Show, which is WPRNP, isn't that right? That's the way. That's
Uh-huh. WPRPN.
WPRPN,
Yeah.
and that's where we first met and started hanging out. And we've actually got, I think we've actually gotten to know each other quite well.
Yep. Good.
So um, that's why I knew this was a guaranteed good interview because freaking me and Sonia, we have a killer time together
And good
now.
enough to drive out there and pick you up in a van.
Yeah, she's talking about picking me up and
Go
going
cruising.
going
Yeah, we're
cruising
going
around
to
the
do
country
bro.
and do crazy shit and stuff.
That'd be fun.
So this is Sonia Galactica or Galactic,
Yeah.
Galactic, and
No.
be,
Just Galactic. Yeah.
yeah, okay. Now before we get started with the interview, I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you give a little bit of background about yourself. Tell people a little bit about yourself, okay?
Okay.
So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Okay, great. Yeah. I tattoo, I make t-shirts, t-shirt designs, and the website where all that's at, galacticfire.com, and it's TEC, not TIC. And pretty much, I actually have something coming up here pretty soon. It's going to be my first time out at a. It's not really a festival. It's more like a gigantic swap meet. It's in Quartzsite, Arizona. It's the Tyson Wells one right there. It's right off the highway. So apparently there's a lot of traffic through there. And I had one of my friends, Mushroom Kenny. He introduced me to the whole place. He lives there, and he does that apparently every year. So he was saying, "Hey, come on out and check this out." So I did actually. I went out there for a couple of days, and it was really like the best place ever. And there's so many gemstones. It's like, wow, it's so exciting. And so I'll probably go out there and sell some T-shirts out of a catalog. Probably it's kind of my intention. Um, and then kind of see what happens after that. That would be great because I got to get the show on the road sometime. So I kind of just want to travel and sell T-shirts, go to conferences, things like that. Places where my T-shirts might be sold more. You know,
Mm-hmm.
is in like the consciousness community, things like that, because they're like for every T-shirt, there's something about that I've experienced or that's just hilarious. And other folks who know about what I'm talking about, they would just like love to have a T-shirt like that. I'm certain. So yeah, that's it. Maybe do a few tattoos. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
See
Yeah.
that right there? There's like a whole plethora of information that I can draw off of for your interview. You see what I mean? Like,
Sure.
and that's what I was saying. I knew automatically this was going to be a cool interview, because freaking. First of all, we need to talk about your shop and your T-shirts and stuff like that. But even though I want to get into that first, like this not festival that you said, but like this gathering, I guess it is. If you want, man, kind of go over that and let people know what that's all about, since you've been there and everything. Get a little.
Well, I haven't actually been there to sell anything yet, but it seems to me like it's just a big, huge, gigantic RV park that during the month of December and January they turn into like a swap meet flea market type of thing. So it's outdoors, but there's like bars there, and like the bar I went to was so cool. I mean, like with live music and stuff. So it was great. So other than that, I really don't know what else would be going on as far as that goes. I mean, I'm sure awesome stuff and all that. I mean, there's already shops going up there when I was out there, which was just like the last part of last week of November.
Mhm.
And they have like tie dye shops, which is like pretty much unheard of for the most part. Nobody really does tie dye type stuff anymore. And we're talking like tie dye from like the chick does it. She does her tie dyes and then sells them. It's
Mhm.
really cool. and then jewelry, stones, and just all kinds of stones. I went into this one store. This wasn't at the Tyson Wells place. This was across the street. But we're talking about quartzite, which the whole place apparently is full of gemstones. So there was like this warehouse that went from, I mean, it was like you could, like as far as you could see, there was nothing but gemstones on shelves, and it was so awesome. And they were like so affordable. Like you could get a big bag of gemstones for like $6, whereas like one of those would cost $6 if you were anywhere in a store like out here in Phoenix, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's super, super, super exciting to me.
Yeah, that. I mean, you kind of answered what I was going to ask you about what kind of merchandise and everything they sold there and stuff. So.
Yeah, they have all kinds of stuff though. Anything you would see at a swap meet, you know, you would see there. But these are more like professional, I guess you could say. Like it's not just grandma with old Tupperware kind of stuff, you know. It's more like people with new items, basically. So, you know, I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that's going to be there, you know. I read the website, and it told me a little bit, but, you know. So I get the idea that there's going to be, you know, anything from, like, you know, a jogging suit, you know, that's probably made in China, you know, to like things that are made from hand, you know, like handcrafted jewelry and clothes and stuff like that. So
that's pretty cool.
It's more about my alley kind of thing, that kind of thing. So I was just flabbergasted when I went there. Kenny knows. He was with me, and he's like, what? He told me I would explode when I got there, and I pretty much did, I think. Oh, wow. So cool. I didn't even really know that place existed. I mean, I drove through there, but I didn't know that they had, you know, that they sold gemstones and that they you know, had flea markets or whatever you want to call them. I didn't even know that's the case, but apparently a lot of people come through there during that time because it's kind of known to folks, you know, up north and things like that they just make a trip through there every year. So
that's pretty cool. I thought it was going to be like a place where people come together and do like jewels and stuff like that for like, you know, all the.
Their purposes. I would not be surprised, really.
For like the mystical stuff, because I know there's a lot of people that do. Well, from what I remember when I lived there, there was a lot of people that did stuff like around South Mountain and areas like that where they got into a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that going on out there.
So, actually, I'm going to have to turn my audio down. I think whenever I'm hacking, it makes my voice go a little bit loud, so I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Mark was in here earlier. He wanted me to apologize for bailing out because it's over in England, and he said that he wanted to say sorry he couldn't stay for the show and stuff, but Mark Edworthy was here. He just, you know how it is, it's getting winter time, and those English people aren't really good with cold weather. They just, they're not like those, you know, Canadians that are up there and freaking...
Right. You're used to freezing.
Yeah, used to the freezing. So he did want to apologize about that, but
oh, that's sweet.
With that being said, I wanted to go from there to your shop and the shirts and stuff that you're selling and stuff. So
well, I just have the shop online. I only made one sale so far, or made, I don't know, so only one person bought a shirt so far. And that's one of the chicks that's on YouTube. Super cool chick. And she got the Earth Volunteer shirt. So there's that one. Star seeds, you know, people who are star seeds know they're star seeds. Maybe they want to say, maybe they don't. I don't know. Most star seeds, though, are like, yeah, I'm a star seed. What's up? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. And then there's the Starseed t-shirts. I have the telepathy t-shirt. I have the one that says the news is full of shit t-shirt, because it is. And just kind of like stuff like that. And then I've got the Transmuted shirt with the Trans Am on it. I love Trans Ams and old cars like that. Love them. So I, Transmuted, Trans Am. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put a Trans Am, because if you take a ride in one of those old cars, if you take a ride, yeah, but if you drive it yourself, wow. I mean, anything you were stressed out about or worried about kind of just is transmuted into awesomeness because you're in a car like that and you're driving it. It's like how, I mean, that should be a therapy tool people use because for the love of God, I mean, it's available, instead of stressing out on whatever computer issue you might have, or if like you're out in the, they say go out into the nature and stuff, and I'm sure we've all went out into nature at some point and been like, yeah, well, this kind of is cool, but I'm still depressed or whatever, or whatever's bothering me. So if those things aren't going to work, then driving a Trans Am certainly will. My son actually probably knows most about that. He's probably drove in a Trans Am more than most of us because his dad has a Trans Am.
Mm-hmm.
And like a 78, like a World Trans Am, with T-tops and everything. Pretty sure Jeff has T-tops. No, he might not actually. But in any case, it's still Trans Am. So T-tops or not, it's still pretty awesome and still is a transmuting of energy, maybe not when you're 10 years old. So much is driving.
Most definitely when you're 10 years old, man. Like, cause, yeah, because like that's back when the fast cars for a boy, especially for boys, you know what I'm saying? Like fast cars was, well, maybe not now, but back when I was younger, we.
For sure. I didn't even know what we had back then. I didn't even know, When I was 16, my friend that I pretty much lived at her house, her mom had a white Trans Am, like a Firebird with the T-tops and everything, and it was pristine. And we didn't know like what we had back then, but we would cruise the Vegas Strip fucking in that car all the time, and it was fucking bitching. You know what I mean? Looking back, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I didn't even know we had it so good back then, because, you're just like you're bitching about this or that or the other thing. It's like, Trans Am, whatever, but like I didn't have it so bad.
Yeah.
Not so much.
So you actually brought up a good topic to talk about because I've used your advertisement for this all the time. The shirt.
Oh yeah.
The shirt. Okay, the shirt. Now the thing that. Now you've been telling me that I need to do a new video for it.
Yeah.
But I like it. I have to personally let everybody know I do like the video. But even though I understand where you're coming from too, because like whenever you have something that you made that's older and you make new stuff, you kind of say, man, I could have done better. I understand because I do that all the time. But
of course too, like so particular about things. But at least it's not AI, which I'm not trying to do any AI stuff.
All right.
People try and and capitalize off of the whole AI thing. Like I'm going to make this out of AI and I'm going to sell it. It's like, well, somebody else could just go make that of AI. It just doesn't even make any sense. The craftsmanship is out the window with that. So
yeah,
so it's so super, even more super cheesy because of the AI thing that's come out, which is kind of cool in a way,
Yeah, but
yeah.
The whole thing I was going to ask you about is when it comes to television, you have like you just said too. You have your ideas about television and entertainment like that, like movies and stuff. I guess this would be a good time for us to have you kind of discuss that and what your thoughts are about all that stuff, because that's actually something that I don't think you've had too much of an opportunity to talk about. You know what I mean?
Not too much, but well, TV was invented for programming people, basically. I mean, that's, if you look into the history of it, what most history is false anyway, but what's available, if you look into what's available, you'll find that TV was what launched the whole thing in order to manipulate people's thinking. So so there's that, and the TV is mind control shirt. That was one of the first ones I came out with, which isn't actually super popular. Well, I mean, I can't really say that for sure because there hasn't been really enough people exposed to it to say what's popular and what's not. But TV is definitely one of the main ways that people's thinking is manipulated by even just like a an entertainment show, like, any
Mhm.
show, really, sitcoms or anything like that, they all have elements of programming that they really stick out for me. I mean, it's very difficult for me to suspend my, how you got to suspend your belief or your judgment or whatever it's called in order to enjoy like a sci-fi show or something. You are under the impression that it's not real. You got to kind of pretend like it is for a little while in order to enjoy the show. But
Mhm.
mine's kind of been like it, I mean, I suppose I can, but it's still it sticks out for me. And so watching a movie with me, it's kind of, I mean, I guess I could shut up for a little while, but usually I feel like I need to point out the parts and why they're there and what they've been placed there for. It's just sticks out to me like more than anything really in the movie. So I suppose I can enjoy a movie with suspending my belief, but I think it's more important to point out what they're trying to do to people and how they're trying to get people to think certain ways. And by they, that would be the people who created the movie,
Right.
or the and who run the system. Of course, that too plays a big part because they're the ones who can say yay or nay on what's put out and what's not put out. Like the censor guys or whatever you call it. Which is becoming more and more AI these days, unfortunately. Um, but there's that. Yeah.
Yeah. When
Thank you.
when you were talking, it kind of made me think about it because like whenever I started getting into the whole streaming thing and making my own videos, I went onto LinkedIn and I started doing the LinkedIn learning programs they had on there, and they went through the history of television. And that's something that I would personally suggest people who are interested in doing this kind of stuff go in and learn about, because what you're saying there is true. Like they want to alter your way of thinking, because like you take, and I've used this example before, but like you take two pictures. You take a picture of an old lady and a little kid,
Mhm.
and you put them side by side, and people see an old lady and they see a little kid, and they got this fuzzy little nice thought going on in their head, right? Well, then you take a pack of cigarettes and you put it in on top of those two. So now you have a picture of an old lady and a little kid and a pack of cigarettes, and that alters your way of thinking because you saw that pack of cigarettes with that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Every little bit makes a difference,
Yeah.
and it's usually under the radar, like subliminal.
Hmm.
We don't really notice too much about it, but some of the subliminal stuff is just crazy, like retarded.
Yeah.
How it's supposed to be hidden when it's like not.
It's right in front of your face.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well,
And,
hide in plain sight, like they say, right?
and then like the for me it's kind of a little bit of the opposite. Like I when it comes to the watching in like a science fiction or something that's just purely entertainment, like sitcoms and stuff. I have to kind of tell myself, look, it's not real. It's supposed to be entertainment. You know what I mean? Because I think that the one thing that most people have an issue with is they watch this stuff and they honestly think that this is the way things are. You know what I mean? Like you don't sit and watch freaking Father Knows Best and believe that everything they're showing you on that show or Leave It to Beaver is actually real. You know what I mean? Like families don't
Mhm.
really work like that.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right. Well, there's some folks who probably, I mean, even if you kind of know that that's not how it is, there's still something like implanted in your subconscious about how it, like an idealism kind of thing.
exactly.
Just a way of keeping the masses in conform to one way of thinking or one area of belief, so that way it keeps them buying stuff for like Christmas and everything like that. Even though if you look into Christmas, for example, it's complete bullshit. The whole thing is. I mean, it's not even. Yeah, we have the Christmas spirit, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that at all. There's definitely that, of course, and that's kind of sacred, you know what I mean? But it has really nothing to do with Jesus or anything like that. I mean, not literally. I mean, maybe in people's minds, yeah, but
Yeah, it's
you know,
kind.
but that can create egregores, that can create something. And for all I know, that whole thing could be an egregore type of situation, you know.
See, now
Yeah.
you're starting to throw tricky words up like a Gregor. Now,
Egregore. Yeah, it's just
egregore.
an entity or an idea that's actually that exists in the ethers, that's created when enough thought energy is put toward it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm sure there's probably not many folks that don't know about Jesus. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty egregorish a little bit. Um, you know, so.
So since you brought that word up, let me ask you something.
Sure.
Have you done any kind of research into Prometheanism?
Not too much, but recently actually I've heard quite a bit about it, and uh, more than I knew before. So no, not officially, not enough to speak on that. You know.
Okay, I figured I'd ask because like a lot of people who talk about that usually go further into the whole thing about Prometheanism, and that was one thing that really stuck out to me because like here lately, I don't know if you've noticed it, but like even Jaffe is starting to talk about Gog and Magog.
I have not noticed that. No.
But I've been running into a lot of people that have been discussing that, so it was kind of
Hmm.
interesting because that's how I first learned about Gog and Magog was through Prometheanism and things of that nature. So I figured I'd ask you.
What is that?
Gog and Magog
Hmm.
is a belief that took place, or it's still, I guess you could say, going on in the UK. They were basically the difference between good and evil.
Okay.
So they have a whole kind of thing there, but I don't want to like go that
Yes.
direction if you're not,
Hmm.
because I want to keep it focused on you. I said beforehand I'm going to try to make this a good interview. Let's,
Yeah.
let's,
Awesome.
let's focused on you. So now we went over the T-shirt about the television stuff and everything. Now you mentioned the other shirts that you had, and you were talking about a lot of cool stuff like telepathy and shit.
Hmm. Or telepathic is what one of the T-shirts are,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we've all had experiences with telepathicness or being telepathic at some point. Whether we knew that's what it was or not is kind of a different story. But it's just like it's as simple as like who's calling you before you answer the phone, and this kind of does go back into like before caller ID and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So or when you've been like hey, I know what this person's going to say before they say it, and you're like both on the same topic and you weren't discussing it beforehand. Kind of like it's becoming more apparent nowadays because of like our place in the universe and all the energies like getting a lot more intense. So it's becoming more apparent to a lot of folks, to where you know it, like you don't really have to talk so much about what is actually happening or how you even feel about it. It's more being like transmitted, uh, depending on the person, of course, and everything about their mind or how they view the world and things. But even that is even going beyond that, because I bet if we took a survey, we'd find that at least probably more than half of the people are experiencing things to where they know what someone's going to say, or what someone's thinking before they even express it, in conversations or whatever, whether it's on the phone or in person, or it doesn't really matter, because there's no actual like time and space type of thing. It's like once you think about a person, and then like a cord goes out etherically, and it like attaches to that person, and it kind of taps them on the shoulder and says, hey, I'm thinking about you. And then the other person's like, oh, well, I'm thinking about this person all of a sudden, and then like you guys end up talking or whatever the thing is. But it so if your perception is available to where you kind of can sense things like that, usually I would go to say it, like 9 times out of 10, probably 10, that when you think about a person, it's because they're thinking about you. So it's not like, I mean, there are, differences, of course, and all kinds of things that can be manipulated there. But basically, people are finding out, they're finding out who they really are, and the innate abilities they were born with. Like, we're born being telepathic. That's how it goes. I mean, it doesn't go any other way. I mean, how does a baby even learn to talk, for the love of God? Yeah, from seeing things, there's all kinds of different arguments that can be put up with that, but whatever, because it is what it is. Still, this is we come through the whole mind wipe, the whole electrocution that makes us forget everything about, our past lives, or any place we ever been before this, and we're just kind of stuck here going, what the fuck's going on, man? Why is everybody so fucking crazy? But for the most part, I mean, but we still have that spark, and that's really what I made these t-shirts for, is to like to kind of remind people of their spark, their God spark they have inside of them, that, because everything else is trying to put folks to sleep about things, like TV or anywhere you look, really, especially advertising,
Hmm.
for the most part is it's probably why I haven't done any advertising, but for the most part it's like trying to put people to sleep and trying to put that spark out, because the guys with all the money, that created this platform and many others, of course, they don't give a shit about the spark. It's not about the spark. It's about how much cash you can get off of whatever, and not even cash, really. It's about how many, digital numbers you can have wherever, and then use that for whatever. It's basically, it's about power, and the ability to control. So that's fucked up. And anyone who's like a little kid, you come in going, hey, I want to control you. No, not really. I mean, there's parts when you get to where you're playing with toys and stuff, and you're like, man, it's my toy and things like that. But that's what you learn. It's not like, in my opinion, that doesn't come, you don't come in with that sort of thing. But in any case, what's happening now, because of the energies that are coming from like the cosmos, like the center of the fucking cosmos, like source and things, are allowing us to remember who we are and remember the abilities we have, and even like telekinesis, or like you know like bilocation, because when we have dreams at night, when we go to sleep, we're bilocating, we're going somewhere else, we're there, for all we know, we're there, even though we're sleeping at home in bed or wherever we're at sleeping. So it's kind of, I mean, that right there shows you that bilocation is actually something that happens. It's not something that it's made up or whatever. It's an inherent ability that we have, that all humans have. And I'm sure maybe you've heard of the humans that aren't really human.
Yeah,
There's those too.
yeah,
So
I've heard a lot about that. As a matter of
mhm.
fact, like that's pretty much every time I get on stream, I hear about the humans that aren't humans. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Wow.
it's a pretty common theme. But like when I talk to you though, there's some things that really stick out that I've actually been bringing up that a lot of people don't like to talk about. Now, the one thing I would like to ask you, with everything you just said, is what's your thoughts on synchronicity?
um, Synchronicities, pretty sweet. um, what I'm seeing is that when you have synchronicities, that's like because all of our universe, or everything in our field, is a reflection of us on some level. So that is allowing you synchronicities, like the time being a certain number at whatever time, even though you don't plan on that. Obviously, it just like, whoa, every time I look at the clock, it's 222, 333, or whatever. And those are I think, this quantum field that we're in, right, allowing us to kind of see that there is like a rhyme or reason for it. It's not just for nothing. Like we're not here just doing nothing. There's a reason for things. And it also allows, in my perspective, or opinion, whatever you want to call it, for self-reflection. Because when you see that so many times in a row, you got to sit and think, why is that happening? It's almost like it makes the universe alive, if you want to call it the universe, or whatever. It makes things alive. Like there is an interaction going on between, our minds and the things around us, basically. And there again, the things around us is just a reflection of what is in our mind. It's like some people call it a hologram, like it's our hologram reflection or quantum field. Or I mean, and so there's that part of it. And then there's also bigger synchronicities, like at times when you have been able to see certain things or experience certain things happening in your life to where they fit together, like one thing from when you were 5 to when you were like 12 to when you're like 22 or whatever, and they all fit together in a way that is like not probable at all. It's like it. And then that's when, we have these, like, I don't know if you want to call them epiphanies or whatever, but they're the spiritual aha moments where you're like, oh wow, that's why that happened, and that's why I'm here like that. And we only get those things if we look inward and we contemplate these things, like ponder upon what could this be, why would this be this way, and then we receive more information from the ethers or whatever. I heard something the other night that was very interesting. Is that because our brains are like antennas, like it's a big antenna, and we don't have any original thoughts. Like we don't originally think of anything. Like all these thoughts are just floating around, and we antennicize on them, or they come in through our antenna, and we're like, we either grab onto them or not, or we think they're ours or not. I know when I was born and as growing up, I thought every thought that I had was something I came up with. Nobody told me otherwise, and there's really no instruction here. And that's one thing that I thought was really fucked up when I first got here to Earth, was that there's no one to tell you what's going on. Like grandma doesn't know, mom doesn't know, dad, nobody knows. You're like, why are we here? I don't know, because of God. And it's like, well, where's God? Where can I find this God? What's going on here? I need to talk to somebody to figure out what is really going on here. Because with so much chaos going on and so much, like not cool stuff, and like things that don't need to actually happen, like fighting and things like that are over, things that aren't really necessary, or it's like it's for no reason kind of thing. It's like, well, why does this happen? It doesn't make any sense, at least not to me, So kind of a little off topic there, but
no, it's fine. You're doing great.
Yeah, synchronicity is awesome. And I've experienced synchronicity to the point to where I asked the universe one time, and I picked the most random thing ever. I was like, and I was like, let me see Snake or Jake. I used to call him Jake the computer snake, because it rhymes, and Jake was this guy who sold computers that I happened to find online and stuff, and that turns out some of my other friends knew him too, and I'm like, oh, Jake, and I bought a computer from him, so, and he was always watching Scooby-Doo when I went over there smoking tons of weed or whatever, which is cool. This was back in the day in Kansas, and so it's like, okay, well, I had already done my business with Jake like months and months ago. So I'm like, well, let me run into him. Okay, universe, I want to see Jake. If this is the real thing, if you're like involved here, things like that. So, like weeks went by or however long. I don't even remember how long. It wasn't too long though. And I was at my daughter's father's house, and picking up the kids or something like that. And fucking lo and behold, whatever that means really, but he walked in the fucking door at their house, and I was like, whoa. And I didn't think too much of it at first, but then they started like talking, and I think somebody lit a doob or whatever, because I think they were buying their pot from him or something like that is what was happening. But anyway, and then I started to, as we were all standing around, I started to realize, wait a minute, I remember asking to see Jake, and then I was like, whoa, this is fucking a trip. So I started tripping out and stuff, and people were like, what's going on with you, man? And I'm like, nothing, don't worry about it. I don't think I told anybody, of course. I don't think so, because how are you going to explain something like that in like 2 seconds to somebody?
Well, you just said it to me, and you explained it pretty well.
Yeah,
So you
but
did good.
The thing though, and people they're not like really wanting to know what you have to say, because here you're asking me what I have to say, so it's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the crowd, nobody's really gonna I've had enough experience to know nobody's gonna give a shit about what I'm trying to say about things, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And I've come to accept that without getting my feelings hurt, finally, at like 53. What I'm saying? It took a while. It took me a lot of hurt feelings. But, I get it. People aren't really into what you have to say so much, because they're running their own fucking program. They're running their own thing. So that's cool. When you do meet somebody who's like interested in what you have to say, though, usually that's when you make friends and things like that, because who wants a friend that doesn't give a shit about what they have to say? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that showed me that, I mean, it really just blew my mind, seriously. And I mean, it sounds so much less exciting than it was just telling the story, but it was one of those things to where it just took my world and like, whoa, okay, universe, okay, I get it now. I can't deny you anymore, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. And so I know that the universe or your field or whatever you want to call it is interactive. It's super interactive. And that's how people manifest things, for sure. And knowing that actually empowers you to, be a better manifester, for one, and just to know the whole place we're in better than you would before. But staying oblivious to that is one of the way, or the things that will allow for the outside forces, the ones with all the money that run all the TV shows and things like that, allows them to control folks better. Obviously, if you don't have any consciousness about your own consciousness or your own thoughts or anything like that, then of course you're going to be manipulated more than you would be otherwise. So that's another reason that I created all these t-shirts, is to, in any little respect that someone can, tune to or see, then, they can maybe start, knowing themselves better. Really, that's the goal, is for people to know themselves better and to realize where they're at, and that they're not powerless. They're not, to be ruled by these rulers. That's not what's supposed to be happening. You don't have to take instruction or let someone else or have someone else tell you when something's okay or when it's not okay, or like anything you want to do, you can do it. Your world is completely up to you. It's really not up to anyone else. And
now, there is one thing I wanted ask you, because from what you've been saying here, this is probably the best time to bring it up before we move on to the next part that you talk about. But you've been saying some stuff that has made me want to ask you what. Well, first of all, what's your thought about moments of clarity? Like, first of all, have you ever experienced any times where you've had that aha moment, that moment of clarity where freaking everything actually makes sense? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Several.
No, I mean, if you could share those and then tell us what your thoughts are about those moments of clarity and what they mean, that would be pretty cool, because that's what I'm hearing a lot of what you're saying there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's been quite a few. I don't know that I can remember all of them. However, I had the huge one that sticks out is that oneness experience that I had in 1992. And that was like even just a millisecond of I don't know if you even want to call it clarity. It was definitely clarity, but it was beyond clarity. It was more into the whole. I mean, it's like for just a split second, I knew everything there was to ever know, ever,
Mm-hmm.
which is that's even hard to imagine, but that's how it felt. And it was me. It was gigantic, and it was me, but it wasn't just me. It was everybody else too. It was like everybody was there too, and it just we were super connected, and everything is. That's where the idea of everything is one came from for me. I mean, I'd heard that growing up, like in, and you got to remember too, when I was growing up, there was no cell phones. If I wanted to know something, I had to go to the library and look it up. It was like that. And I did research occultism from when I was like, I don't know, 10 or 12, right in there, those, because I had acid experiences and things like that, to where I'm like, I got to find out what's going on here. So I've always constantly been asking questions, and that's what led to the oneness experience I had, was just asking myself, okay, well, if this is this way, then what about this? And it would be wonderful to like find out or remember what it was I was actually asking about when that happened, because I don't recall exactly what it was, but I know it was definitely about like reality, and it was about how things happen and why they happen and things like that. And then all of a sudden, poof, that's what happened. And I remember I looked up in the air. I was outside at the time, and I was like, and I didn't really obviously realize anything about that till I tried to remember what it was, and I remember what I was doing, and I remember I was looking up there. Was it a UFO? I don't know what it was. Why was it up in the air? Why not looking at the ground? I don't get it. I don't get why it was up in the air. Maybe it was a UFO thing. I don't know. Maybe there's other people. And what I kind of think is that there's like this thing that went out, this idea or frequency or something from folks that are, you know, uh, more advanced than humans are. And it was outside of the control veil that they have or whatever, to where they put this out. And like a lot of people noticed it. I don't think I was the only one. It was like in the later part of 92, I believe. I don't remember what day or anything like that. It would be neat to get regressed and find out exactly what I was thinking and stuff, because it would just be interesting. I remember partially like being in the bathroom, like, oh, well, what's going on here? And there's been, if you ever want to like know more about yourself really, and you're really trying to find out, it might be kind of a lame way or mundane way, but look in the mirror and talk to yourself, because you'll find that when you do that, it accelerates the process for whatever reason, maybe because you're faced with your reflection or something, but it really does help. In my experience, it does help. So there was, I mean, that was like, and then when I snapped out of it, which was like a millisecond later, I remembered that my lifetime here and who I was here, and that I was this chick Sonia and all this stuff. But before that, I was like as gigantic as it gets, and it was like, and so looking, and when I remembered who I was, it seemed like it was so small compared to what I just was faced with, which was everything, and we're all each other, and it's just the whole thing, and how we're all connected and things, and then my lifetime here was so tiny compared to that. It really was. It was like, which is even more mind blowing. The whole thing was just like, wow. What even happened there? I don't think that we can really have these experiences like this just on our own. Just because we're asking questions to ourselves, can we really? Did I bring that on all by myself, or was that something that was like being blasted to the universe, like to the planet Earth, or however you want to look at that,
Right.
I mean, I don't even know, but nevertheless, it completely changed my life. And I even forgot, Roger, that I smoked cigarettes.
That's pretty good.
Isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, right there is just another thing that tells me, wow, because I was trying to explain to everybody what happened to me. I'm like, oh my God, it's like I should have had a V8, which I don't even know why I said that, but that was one of the commercials back then where I'm like, yeah, I should have had a V8. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could not make any sense, because things like that happen are like unexplainable, really. in words. It was hard to find words, and all my friends thought I lost my mind. They were like, "Yeah, Sonia's fucking tripping," you know. And I was just doing speed. I wasn't doing like any crazy drug or anything like that.
Yeah, just
You know,
speed.
there's some people out there that might think speed is a crazy drug, and yeah, it used to be a lot different back then, but it's not a crazy drug, really. I guess some people it does make them crazy,
Well,
like me.
for
Look out the
for
window
me,
in a row, but
for me, it's a crazy drug. See, when I did speed, I freaking ended up doing like really weird shit.
really,
Yeah, and it wasn't really because it had like this effect that like LSD does. You know what I mean? It was because I had lack of sleep and I was running off of freaking like 5 days with only a bologna sandwich to eat.
yeah,
So in that aspect, I started doing
yeah,
crazy shit. But
yeah. Lack of sleep will do the same thing, I think.
yeah,
If you stay up for however long, you're gonna start like getting into some weird parts of things. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
hallucinations and crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, but calm hallucinations. But is that really you just seeing through the veil, or is that a hallucination? You know what I mean?
Well,
Who knows? We're trained to think it's a hallucination, which makes me think that it probably isn't. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
So,
people still debate over that when it comes to like CO2. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people that when they're exposed to carbon monoxide, they start having visions and they start seeing ghosts. And now, my question was always, do you think that was a result of the carbon monoxide, or do you think the carbon monoxide actually made it to where you were capable of seeing ghosts?
hmm hmm
You know?
for sure. And I mean, our brains are like they're like the biological computer kind of thing going on. Because if we don't, and our beliefs have a lot to do with that, obviously, otherwise there wouldn't be so much attention put on mind control and things, belief control or whatever.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you believe you can see something, it's gonna be way more likely that you see it than if something you don't believe you're gonna see it.
Right.
And then there's just those things that bust in and you see them anyway, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But your belief has a lot to do with that. And then too, there's the chemical part too, because of the fluoride that's in the water, that totally takes your pineal gland, which is the center. If you imagine something in your mind, that's your pineal gland at work. Okay,
Hmm.
that's how it happens. If you can visualize something, the reason why you can is because you're using your pineal gland, even though. And this is scientific. This isn't even something that I'm like guessing at or like what old fucking shamans say. It's not even any of that. What it is that the fluoride goes in and calcifies your pineal, like as blood runs through your pineal as it does through every other part of your body. Apparently, from what I've researched, is that the pineal takes more blood passing through it than any other organ, like at any one point in time. So basically, a lot of blood goes through there. And if your blood is contaminated with fluoride or poisons like that, then it's going to calcify it. And probably most people who at least who use faucet water, which is most people, they're going to have a calcification of their pineal. And not only water, it's in everything nowadays. It's in like cereal. It's even in like the cookware, like the nonstick cookware. The fucking, how it peels off every now and again or whatever when you're cooking, and that shit's like, oh, it's just we got to get a new pan. No, it's just that's the amount of fluoride that you've now taken into your body and your food that you don't notice because it's so minuscule. And then let's not get into like the chemtrails and shit like that because it's so much further advanced than that. But basically, my whole point with that is that if you're alive here and live in like what they call civilized society, with running water and things like that, chances are your pineal is going to be a little bit calcified. And if you take steps to make it uncalcified, to decalcify it, you will find that you will have a spiritual experience. Like, and a lot of people have the Kundalini type of thing happen with that, because it's how we're built. It's not like it's something that's like crazy esoteric or occult shit that's just a mystery or anything. No, that's actually how our bodies function. And the guys who put the shit in the water, they know this, and that's why they put it in the water, because if we're all aware of who we are and functioning at our top, like, limit or limitless, then they're not going to have any power anymore. They won't have any power over us, because we'll all be like, fuck you and your fucking water, and fuck you and your fucking cable bill. Fuck all that. We're not going to be putting up with that shit anymore. We won't need to be entertained by whatever's on TV, or, it's just so, like, it's so crazy. Roger. And that's another reason I put out the shirts, so that people can, just remember who they are, kind of thing. Right. Basically, it's each one, each one is like a road to being able to remember who you are, kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like an awakening, basically.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, an awakening. Yeah, sure.
So now, I from me, in my experiences, I've had to go through recovery, and they were real big on spiritual awakenings now, and spiritual experiences, and they were real big about moments of clarity. But the one thing that really helped me, I think, in my experiences was crossing over a threshold. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it took a lot of pain for me to freaking actually have that moment of clarity, to where I could see clearly and understand, like, something's got to change, you're going to die, So, like, with me, I guess the best question I have to ask you is there a moment in your life where you actually had to cross a threshold, like a threshold of pain, where you had to change, and actually had another moment of clarity where things made sense at that moment, where, look, you're fucking up and you need to change?
Yeah, that happens a lot, actually. I mean, not so much anymore like it used to, but yeah, it happens a lot. Like when I was taking Percocet, and Percocet is a respiratory system. It's like a suppressant or a downer. It fucks up your respiratory system, which is your ability to breathe, which is kind of important, So, knowing that, yeah, I probably, when I was to the point to where I was like stopping breathing when I was going to sleep, I kind of, knew, however slowly. It was like an agreement with the universe, though. It's like I have those, but yeah, to where it's like, check it. You're gonna have to, like, not do this no more, even though you might want to, or whatever. Because it's not working out to the point to where it's super detriment. Like, like it's gonna fuck you up to where you're not gonna be unfuckable, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Actually, that makes a lot of sense to me. So, yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Now, before we start treading down the horrible freaking path of YouTube, I think we should move on to this from this part, because I think this could tread into some areas where I could get in trouble.
Maybe.
But the thing is like, you have also got some things that I do want to cover too, which is a part of using the tarot, and there's also well, we've both done some stuff with numerology, and you played it off like you didn't know much, but then when we actually did it, you knew more than what you played it off as. So I'd really like to get into some of those stuff. We've actually gotten into, like, some more of the cooler stuff, to the point where I've got like 53 minutes recorded. So we've done a really good job on that. And that was the stuff that I wanted to actually get into, that I knew you didn't really get very much chance to talk about. And I knew you'd bring it up in the conversations, but it never went far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to kind of go through some of that stuff, but
yeah, awesome.
And
can we take a break real quick?
Yeah,
like a bathroom.
That's kind of what I was getting ready to do. I'll put some of this cool music in.
Yeah.
And then
there you go.
And I'll let all these guys listen to that Rebel talk.
Okay. Okay. I'll be.
And I'll be back too. I'm gonna take another quick break, smoke a cigarette, drink some coffee, and I'll be back, guys. So.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
sin. Forever at midnight where shadows starlight, leaving me chained to the arms complete. In the velvet days, the night is here and deep embrace. You drift like shadows, cold and bare, a ghostly vision beyond compare. Your voice is calling, whispered so low, pulling me closer to face eternal. I found the wondrous response hiding off a wound I wear inside. And in the darkness we meet once again, unbound by silence like whispers of sin. Forever at midnight where shadows collide, leaving me chained to the unspoken pain. Of what we were, two lovers lost without a cure. Under the stars I lay beside the ghost of you, my haunted bride.
And in the dark lakes we meet once again,
Unbound by the silence like whispers of sin.
forever at midnight where shadows collide,
leaving me chained to the odds coming. Shadows cold and bare, a ghostly vision beyond stone fear. I have caught it silent but proof is nice. The stars on your wrist, your start to shake clear. I felt the wondrous past and of a wound I wear inside. And in the darkness we meet once again, unbound by the silence like whispers of sin. Forever at midnight where shadows starlight, leaving me chained to the unspoken. In the velvet days, the night is here and deep embrace. You drift like shadows, cold and bare, a ghostly vision beyond compare. Your voice is calling, whispered so low, pulling me closer to face eternal. I found the wondrous response hiding off a wound I wear inside. And in the darkness we meet once again, unbound by silence like like whispers of sin. Forever a midnight where shadows collide, leaving me chained to the asphalt bed. Of what we were, two lovers lost without a cure. Under the stars I lay beside the ghost of you, my haunted bride.
And in the dark let's when meet once again.
Unbound by the silence, like whispers of sin.
Forever midnight where shadows collide,
Leaving me chained to the odds coming. Shadows cold and bare, a ghostly vision beyond stone fear. I have gone silent, but proof is nice. The stars of you risk, you start to shake clear. I felt the wondrous past and in all the wound I wear inside. And in the darkness we meet once again. Unbound by the silence, like whispers of sin. Forever a midnight where shadows collide, leaving me chained to the arms complete.
Alright, I am back.
Wait.
Okay, so I still haven't figured out how to make the media source like go out silent or slowly. So for everybody who heard that, I apologize because I abruptly make the music stop. So and that's annoying to me too, just so everybody knows. But we're back now, right? You're cool. I'm kind of cool. I went in there and found out after I smoked my cigarettes that the coffee pot's empty. So I'm gonna have to be doing this dry. Nothing.
You can go get coffee, bro. It's okay.
I'd have to make a pot, and you know,
Fine.
I'm fine.
Do what you do.
I'm fine. It's just I might have to go through DTs and stuff like that, you know. So
We don't want that. Nobody wants that, man.
I know that's what they all say, but a lot of people like to. They say I do better when I'm like fiending for coffee. I don't know why.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Well, it's totally up to you. Whatever you decide is perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm doing good. Now, before we get into this, I want to let everybody know that like Sonia has a habit of pretending like she doesn't know shit.
Do I?
Yeah. So just understand that like just because she says she doesn't know something about certain things, she knows stuff about that certain thing, but she doesn't tell you until it's important to tell you. Like, and
That's the thing, right?
yeah. But I usually say this because you're a woman. That's the way women do things. Like, because they're it's really important for a woman to have secrets. I know that.
Wow, it's not important for me to have secrets. You got me wrong there.
Okay.
It's just that I don't want to seem like I'm a know-it-all. You know what I mean? I don't want to come off like that, really.
Well, you do a good job at it.
Oh, thank you.
You do a good job at it. The reason why I brought all that up is because you you know actually quite a bit when it comes to like magic, and I have noticed that.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're into tarot, but there was one thing that I wanted to ask you, and I keep forgetting to ask you too. But are you into crystal magic
Not so much. I'm not really into any magic, really, only because I'm not trying to
or divination, I should say?
divination. Yes, which I don't think that's kind of the same thing.
I
as
know.
magic.
That was my bad. I apologize.
Yeah, I don't want to be a manipulator. I'm not trying to manipulate things so much, because say if you put a love spell on somebody, yay, great, you put a love spell on them, they love you, yeah, that's great, but do they love you? Probably not.
All
It's
right.
probably just the influence that is on them, and I would rather have real love, not fake love, kind of thing.
Actually,
Just an example.
that brings up a good question that I can present to you then, because that just kind of opened up a whole category right there.
Sure.
Kind of explain to everybody what the difference between magic and divination is.
Oh, magic. Well, magic exists anyway. It all depends on how you view magic, though. If you're talking about it in the traditional type of sense, as far as like spell casting and things like that, um, then that's more of a, to me, that's more of a black magician kind of thing, because these black magicians, they put spells on whoever, or the masses, in order to have a certain result obtained, which would go against someone's free will. It's almost like it's like tricking them to think that it's their free will when it's not. It's like luring someone into something or another. Um, which, if you know that you're luring someone into something, then to me that's wrong. You shouldn't do that, because that, to me, even though you might have a wider perspective of things than whoever you're putting the spell on, that doesn't mean it's okay for you to like make them want something or do something that they wouldn't normally do because of whatever you put in front of them, kind of thing. That's manipulation and coercion kind of thing. So there's that would be magic. And then divination is simply getting a reflection back from the universe that you, like an intention you want to know about, or more information that you would like with a certain idea, and what that idea might be connected to, the certain thought forms or ideals or concepts that whatever your question is might be connected to. That's divination, and that's not manipulating or coercing anything. That's like just looking, basically. So divination for me would be looking at what's going on, and what all is in the field, or the ethers, you could say. And magic would be taking what is in the ethers and moving that in certain ways to where you can get your personal desired outcome, or a desired outcome.
Okay. That was pretty good. That was pretty good explanation there. You did real good.
Mm-hmm.
You're,
That's all for me. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
for sure. I mean, that's what I've gathered so far, anyway, with the whole thing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, when it comes to divination, I know that you're really big on the tarot cards. Is there any other part of divination that's really caught your attention besides tarot readings and stuff?
Divination. Well, I like all forms of divination, actually. Um, like the I Ching, the runes. Even you can even that even just happens throughout the day. Like as I was talking earlier about the universe connection that I had experienced, you can just say, hey, what is this thing I want to know about, or whatever, put that out into the universe, and the universe will reflect that back to you, just in occurrences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like signs.
Yeah, like science. Yeah, absolutely.
So, could you kind of give a little bit of a example of some of the signs that you've seen?
Hmm. Um. Well.
Make it real good too, like real freaking ghost whisperer kind of shit.
That I've seen.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one that comes to mind first off is and this is a little bit different maybe than what you're asking about, but nonetheless it's a sign, so it kind of goes into that field. That okay, so remember, I'm sure you know about the friend who died that I had, Brooke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her thing was a dime, and that was just that what she was showing her husband at the time. There was a dime involved. So after that, I shit you not, I've seen dimes like everywhere, like, and even this even goes beyond that. Before I explain the whole Brooke and dime things, I do want to say that before that, I had in my mind, for some reason, hold on a second. For some reason, I had in my mind that because I'd heard a story long ago about someone's grandma who died or something, and they would, the dime was a thing that they seen whenever they knew their grandma was talking to them and things like that. And so I already had the idea of a dime for some reason, not a quarter, not a nickel or a penny, but a dime. And that was like years ago, like when I was a kid, I remember hearing that story, right? So, and then when this actually happened to me in real life, and it wasn't that, she's like, here's a dime, and then it's me. No, it was that was for her husband, that actually there was a dime sitting on the dresser, that she was trying to say, hey, it was just a sign to let him know that she was there because there was a dime there. The first thing she told me was a dime. And so of course, I had to tell him that. And there was a dime next to the other items that she was talking about. But I just think it's crazy that, like, I had this dime thing before that even happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then here I am in, like, real life, as opposed to a story I heard, getting dimes from someone who died, or on the other side or whatever, that's like, hey, so, and I'm talking about a ridiculous amount of dimes, okay? I'm not talking about just occasional seeing a dime with other coins laying around. It wasn't like that. It was like specifically only the dime would be just laying there, like, okay, for example, my daughter went to the store, and she's like, what do you want from the store? I'm like, I would like some almond milk, right? And so, she knows what kind of almond milk to get me. And when she went to go pick up the milk at the store, there was a dime on top of the fucking almond milk that she was getting me. And I'm like, wow. So basically that told me that Brooke was really going to extremes to try and say hi again or whatever,
Yeah.
because why the hell else would there be a dime of all coins on top of the item that she's supposed to get me from the store at the time she's getting it for me? I mean, come on. There's only so many coincidences. I don't actually believe in coincidences, but it's one of those. I mean, it's very, very obvious to me. And then, like, when I'm doing the laundry, I'll get like a dime come out. Sometimes 2 dimes, not quarters, or I have had quarters before though. But the times I'm referring to, they were only dimes. And usually it's when I already have an idea that they're kind of thinking about me. And I had a roommate that I was living with who knew all about this story, like totally about it. And he died. And I'm thinking, well, am I getting double dimes because of him? And I'm like, no, Gary, you got to send me quarters, dude. You got to send me something different. And plus, why not have a quarter instead of a dime if I'm trying to make some money here? You know what I mean? There's the joke about that. So there hasn't been any weird quarter things or anything like that. They're still dimes, and I think it's that's right. That right there is like a sign to me that there's still the communication going on. And because a lot of times, when people experience this sort of thing,
Mhm.
and maybe it can't just be me, but you kind of, any human kind of like doubts their self. I mean, there's no doubt at one point, but as you go back into mundane everyday life, you kind of think, oh, maybe I'm just tripping, and maybe that's just, like, that was cool because it was a straight validation. The things she told him and the things that he were there for him was just like, there's no denying that whole thing, right? So there's none of that. But even so, getting back into everyday life, you kind of think, oh, well, maybe, I'm just kind of start to doubt yourself a little bit, right? And doubt is the enemy for sure, because it doesn't, and I'm sure that's external, like, because it's what we're taught, like programming from when we're a kid. We're taught not to believe ourselves. We have to ask somebody else what the opinion should be, or like even earlier, like, does this outfit look good on me? Or you know what I mean? It's kind of like that, to
Yeah.
where it's like it's ingrained within us to doubt ourselves. So so there's that. But when you doubt yourself, you really are like cut off from any actual information that is likely true, because we're also taught to think that these things are our imagination and they couldn't possibly be real and things like that. But I'm here to tell you that those things are absolutely real. They are absolutely real. And don't get me wrong, there can be interference and there's ways to figure that out. However, what you innately feel, like what you feel in your heart, is, I mean, it's usually the first thing that comes to your mind, like the first thing, that's it. And then we start to second guess ourselves. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So second guessing has to do with doubt. And that is where, if anything, in my experiences in talking with people who've crossed over, which I've talked to a few of them, if I doubt anything, if I second guess anything, then it screws everything up. And it's like the communication's instantly gone,
Yeah.
you know? So, so I would say that that's definitely one story of signs that I have, is the dime keeps showing up. And also, and this is a new one, is that, like, because I inherited all of Gary's tools, all of his, everything that he had here at his house, right? Because I was his roommate and he left. So obviously everything's going to be mine because it was our house. So we have that. And these fucking cans of, like, primer, like porch primer or sealant that goes on the porches, these, the big cans.
Yeah.
They go poof, how every now and again when you leave them sitting around, they pop every now and again.
Yeah.
Well, these fucking cans pop at these times, these certain times. And I'm like, oh, hi, Gary. Because he's starting to chat, because that's another sign. So, and if anything, I learned with this whole Brooke experience and things, which I intend to have more, because it's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life, is to be able to communicate from someone through the veil for another person. It's very, very fulfilling. So I intend to have more of those. But one thing I've learned is that these people, they are not gone. They're not gone. They're still here. We just can't see them. They're just not here in the physical. And I know that doesn't comfort a lot of folks that, like, maybe had somebody, just because it's like someone just disappears. It's like they just poof. They're just gone, but they're not gone. I mean, they're not gone in your mind when it happens, of course, but even after that, they're still there, and they will find a way to communicate with you. They will find a way to get through somehow, whether it's with a butterfly. How people say, I can't tell you how many tattoos I've done on people because of their grandma and butterflies, or dragonflies, or whatever. Like hummingbirds is a big one for people, and those are real things that happen. They it's not like they take over the beat of the the butterfly or whatever, but they are able to, it's like the butterfly and the person, they work together, like butterflies work together with people who have passed, if that's how we want to say it, to where they will kind of fly where they want them to fly or whatever, you know what I mean? They'll go say hi through that person. That absolutely happens a zillion %.
Yeah.
You know, there's really no getting around it. So whatever it is, if it's like a can that's popping, or if it's a dime, or if it's you know, a butterfly or dragonfly or whatever it is, if you instantly think of that person when you see that, and that brings that thought instantly to you, then that is what it is. So the second guessing shouldn't even be a thing that you would consider, really, because that would just negate what is, basically. So
when you were talking there, I actually remembered something that I did want to ask you. But then at the same time, you brought up some stuff that freaking I wanted to ask you now that I actually caught on to. So without the fear of forgetting again, I'm going to ask you something that because of what you were just talking about. But here in Southern Illinois, especially, there's a lot of the older crowd who were, you know, a lot older than me, but they have this belief that, like before they die, a lot of the older people can smell roses in the air.
mm-hmm.
Now, have you ever heard of stuff like that, and what's your thoughts about things like that? Like, do you think that people can actually have, like, signs where they smell roses just out of the blue, or certain fragrances and stuff of that nature?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And if they have a certain belief attached to that smell,
Mm-hmm.
then that will facilitate that belief being more real for them, if that makes any sense. Just like anything else, really. So if they believe that when they smell roses out of nowhere and there's no roses around, that means they're going to die. Well, then that might facilitate them being able to do such a thing, because we basically if you ask me, we're ran off of beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that's what I mean, and that's what they manipulate, you know, mostly, actually, all the way, is beliefs. So if we believe that, then sure, that could actually facilitate something like that happening. But and I've only seen like death in front of me a couple of times, but if you ask me, it's a choice. There's a choice that's made. It's not like somebody dies because they're old or because they're weak or whatever. Even people in the hospital, you hear stories that, you know, well, she was there, but she hung on for this time to see this one person or whatever it is, or him or whatever it is, to where they decided, they like made a decision that they're not going to kick it until this person comes into view, or until this one thing happens or whatever. And more than that, if you ask me, I think death is just an idea. It's just another program that we're programmed to believe. Like, we believe we're like 40 and we were 30 or whatever the thing is. So now we have like gray hair, or our health is decaying, or whatever our beliefs are associated with getting older will happen, because that's what we believe is supposed to happen. But if we don't believe any of that, then none of that will happen. And so that kind of applies to the whole thing. And I know it's crazy and out there, and like, not like, oh my God, she just doesn't know what she's talking about, which is fine. People can believe what they want, obviously, but death is just a program that people have, and they die. And especially, and this is an important part of that too, is that others around them will compound that. So if, like, say you've been told you have cancer and you're in a hospital bed, and I'm not trying to negate anyone's feelings about anything that happens to anyone, absolutely not. I honor all of that, as a matter of fact. However, I am pointing out that when someone believes they have this illness, and then they're given all these whatever drugs they're given or whatever the thing is, I mean, that's kind of another story. But and then their family believes the same thing. You know, their family's going to believe, oh, he's going to die in 6 months or whatever it is. He only has 2 weeks or whatever it is, right? So they have this thought form and this belief that's set out there on top of this person. So even if this person didn't have any illnesses, maybe they got it wrong when they said he had cancer or whatever. If they have 7 people around them thinking they're going to die at this time, and the person thinks they're going to die, then the person probably like 90% will die because he thinks that's what's supposed to happen, and everyone around him thinks that's going to happen. And my whole point with that is that everyone around you, if they think that you're going to die when you're a certain age, or that you're supposed to die, you're supposed to get gray hair, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, all those like their subconscious projections will come upon the person, and the person will like even subconsciously start to exhibit those things like gray hair or failing health or whatever the thing is. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you noticed, Roger, but there's like these ideas that come across the mind, and they're like, oh, well, maybe I could get heart disease. Maybe I should have heart disease. It's like, fuck you, dude. I mean, fuck your heart disease fucking idea and shit like that. It's not even like, if you ask me, it's not even like what comes in, like, it's not even real. Just, and that's where they get the whole trick about, the thing I was talking about earlier about knowing yourself and knowing your own thoughts, like knowing your vibration and your energy, like knowing yourself. You know, if something else comes in, you're going to know, hey, that's not me. That's another thought. But if you don't, you know, like when we were kids, if we don't know that these other thoughts that are out there aren't ours, then they play upon that, and they can make that a thought that is ours, or will believe it is ours. And they have many ways to do that. But even if you do know, but if they come across there and you latch on and you believe that, then that will be your world. It's really your beliefs create your reality. That's really what it boils down to, for sure. So, right. Did I make myself clear there?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Now, what I was wanting to remember, I actually kept. You were talking, and especially when you were talking about the mirror, looking in the mirror and saying stuff to yourself. Now, to me, that has a lot to do with self-image, and I think that has a lot to do with not just spiritual, but it has to do with just everyday life. You know what I mean? And making it to where you have a good self-image of yourself. But it also goes deeper than just that. So I do agree with you on that. You know, now the thing that made me think of what I wanted to ask you had to do with that, but it also had to do with how you were talking about if your self-image, basically your self-image, if you don't have a good self-image of yourself, it makes you feel less than.
Sure.
Now, when it comes to all of that in that area, what's your feelings about waiting for the freaking shoe to drop, basically? You know what I mean? Those people who sit around waiting for bad things to happen.
Well, if that's their belief, then that's what's going to happen, because there again, we are in charge of our own field. And the reflection thing, mirrors are portals too. I don't think I mentioned that before, but they are. They can be a portal to yourself too, in like a esoteric kind of way, I suppose. But if you're expecting, basically whatever we believe, we create, pretty much. I mean, that's another way TV's used against us, because they can get folks to believe a certain way, then they're halfway to their goal, kind of thing. Whether it's like an ET ship landing and attacking everyone, or whether it's like this big plague that happened, you know, or that supposedly happened, at least for a lot of folks. in any case, uh, the what was your question again? I want to not get lost from that.
Well,
It was
I should probably make it a little bit clearer too. Like, well, that the whole thing with the self-image thing is what that really is too. Besides the fact about waiting for the other shoe to drop, you know, people who wait for the other shoe to drop is like when you say stuff to yourself that's positive, it makes you feel positive. You get a good self-image of yourself. And there's a lot of people that believe, you know, you do freaking, you say good things to yourself, you feel positive, and good things will happen. And then there's other people that are around who's constantly waiting for the shoe to drop and for bad things to happen just around the corner. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So what I'm basically wondering is what's your thought when it comes to those ways of thinking, you know what I mean? Like having a positive look on yourself rather than a negative look about yourself, compare, you know what I mean? And then like being that person that's waiting for bad things to happen to them, rather than a person that's waiting or looking at like their future as having positive things that could happen to them instead, you know?
Well, I think that just all goes back to what your beliefs are and what your expectations are, because obviously when we have certain beliefs about things, we develop expectations, you know. And there's actually in the ethers, there's thought producers, I guess you could call it that. You can call it really a lot of different things, but there's the thoughts that are produced for people specifically, and specific people too, about you know, negative thoughts or certain demise thoughts. Like we were talking earlier about my example was like the heart attack idea comes by, you know. So if you latch on to that, I'm going to have a heart attack because of this, that, and the other thing, whatever your beliefs might consider that to be possible, then they'll send in more thoughts will come to you about affirming reasons why your heart attack is supposed to happen, and why, you know, why this will happen. And our minds control our bodies, so we're have that thing to where our minds will believe something, and then we will allow that sort of thing to happen in our bodies, you know. And there's a lot of different like stuff I don't even know about that is involved with that, I'm sure. But if we it all starts with a belief. So if we believe that, then our bodies will start to develop, you know, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, depending on what it is you need to develop in order to have that be come into fruition, the whole heart attack thing or whatever. And I mean, it's really so subliminal that if we're not closely, you know, watching our thoughts and reevaluating our beliefs all the time, because it's totally okay to reevaluate your beliefs. And that's another thing I've run into, is that people don't, they think that once they've decided something or whatever, it can't be changed. Like unless something outside happens, and that's not true at all. You can change your mind at any point in time. I mean, even if like 15 things in a row happened in the last 15 years, you can still take and change your mind into something that's completely different. It has nothing to do with those facts, because they happened in life that you had discerned. You know, you can take that and change them into new facts. Like you can make new facts. You can, for yourself. I mean, you can make a whole new scenario that is a reason why you're not going to have a heart attack. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if you, whatever you focus on, if you focus on that, then you're gonna prosper in that area. If you focus on the heart attack road, then you're gonna prosper in that area. Whatever area you focus on, you're gonna prosper in it, really, because that's how reality's built. It will give you what you desire for the most part. I mean, there's people who sit around forever like desiring their soulmate, kind of like me. So, I mean, there's that, but that just means that it's just not time yet. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that that doesn't exist somewhere, you know?
Mhm.
So it's whatever it goes back to even the stories we would watch when we were kids, like the never ending story where, like you believe in something. It's really, if you ask me, it really all comes down to what you believe could be and what you believe couldn't be. Because what you believe couldn't be stops you from having what you believe could be
Right.
if they contradict each other. So basically, if you go in and you dissolve all of those contradictions within yourself, say in a, I don't know, say in a 5 minute meditation time. It's kind of funny, but it could be done. If you just go in and meditate on dissolving all of those dichotomies, or whatever you want to call them, the ones that counteract each other. Because how can you believe that, for example, how can you believe that sugar is like super, it's like a poison, right? But then how can you eat it every day? Like, how can you do that? And what will come of that? You know what I mean? It's like all those opposing beliefs that you have that don't really fit in the same mind. Like,
Right.
how can you have that in your mind and not, and there again, you can just take and rearrange all of that stuff, like I was talking earlier, and just get rid of all that stuff and have a completely new perspective. Actually, recently I've learned, and I kind of knew this already, but all of our we rebuild our cells, like, like the liver is like 7 months, and the heart is like 8 months, or however long. I don't know exactly how long it is for any of those, but they completely rebuild, like they replace all of their cells. All the cells are replaced, and they're new cells in a certain amount of time. And you can, like, say if you have like liver fucking whatever it is that's fucking up your liver, as your liver rebuilds itself, it's going to go on the theme it already has. Like if it has, I'm a fucking fucked up liver, I'm going to have to reproduce on this fucked up liver theme that's going on. But if you're constantly putting into your mind, your belief, which controls your body, that your liver is fucking brand new, and it's like original fucking blueprint, all the way, and your liver's fucking got light sparks coming off everywhere because it's still original from source, then you're going to rebuild a liver that's not the sickened one. But if you don't do anything about it and you just keep going and your liver's fucked up, and then if you focus on, oh, my liver's fucked up, you tell everybody my liver's fucked, then that's just going to compound those liver cells rebuilding themselves as a fucked up liver, and they will, because that's how it works. Unless you tell them, it's a good practice to tell your entire body, rebuild as your blueprint every second. If you can put that on autoplay, like in the background autoplay of, I'm rebuilding my best, truest self of like God-given fucking liver, fucking every cell there is instead of just liver, then and I want to take that back with the God thing, because God, there's a lot of fucked up shit attached to that word, like a lot of thought forms and a lot of weird, like, little dangly things attached to the whole God thing. So I want to take the God thing back, and I want to say your original blueprint. Let's just put it like that, source or whatever. Even source is getting fucked up now, but the original blueprint of like your baby liver, your baby everything, like like fresh and clean. Like if you're always got that on autoplay, then you're gonna avoid half of the fucking bullshit that could come in and try and attach itself, because that's really all it is stuff coming and trying to attach itself. Because we live in this place where it's not just 3D reality. We think, oh, it's 3D reality, I'm gonna go to work, I'm gonna play the song or whatever it is. And there's so much more going on than that. There's more in our, like, we are alive in the ethers as well. The ethers are all around us. There's spirits, there's ideas, there's stuff I don't even know about that's all around us all the time, and it will try to attach, or work its way in there. And it's basically, it's all about whether you let it in or not, whether you allow yourself to think that way or to believe that way. or you know that you're your own sovereign being. And sovereign, that word's got a lot of fucked up shit on it nowadays, but basically where you're your pure spirit, and
Mhm.
you, like a how they say about like reclaiming your childhood, like your inner child and whatever. That's absolutely true, because you have to be able to play, because it's not like the only reason we get mad at each other and things like that is because there's a scenario cooked up in our head about things. And yeah, maybe somebody did do something fucked up, but that's still attached to a scenario that's cooked up. And the only reason that person did something mean to another person is because they're fucking thinking of that fucked up thing that they're doing to people. So if we just learn how to play and be our pure selves again, then we're gonna have it made. I mean, that is how it works. That's how it works. I mean, that's actually what I think they're talking about when they talk about the Great Awakening, or the Golden Age, or the whole sun blast that's going to happen and things like that, because people are going to be like thrust into their true selves. And your true self doesn't have all these like hang-ups about like my shoes suck, or man, my ankle hurts, or fucking none of that. All that will be gone. You know what I mean? There won't be any of that there to bring you down, basically. And so then you can ascend. So therefore there's ascension. And that's what this is all about, is ascension. So there you go.
That was pretty good. I couldn't believe you actually said all that. That was really, really good. It was like had a lot of stuff that
Right.
that
Thanks.
I was actually expecting to hear when it comes to those topics, because that's actually kind of the stuff that I've had to go through when it comes to sobering up. A lot of people who don't understand that. They don't understand, like, when you try to live a sober life, it's not being sober from drinking. It's actually sober thinking. You know what I mean? It's a way of thinking.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
the thing that really sticks out to me with all the stuff that you said is the part about the meditation. And then you were talking about what I pulled from it was being open-minded. Now, like, when I first started learning how to meditate, it was a little Oriental dude that I was actually in rehab with who started me with it, and he said the best way to think about life is like when you go from one room to another room, you have to make it to where as soon as you leave that room, it's gone. It's not
Hmm.
even a part of your thinking. The
Yeah.
next room is what you need to be thinking of, and you think room by room.
Okay.
And after you leave that room, whatever took place in that room, whatever you remember in that room, just let it be blank. It's gone.
Right. Yeah, that is very good. That allows you to start even just that pattern of thinking, where
Yeah.
you don't hold bullshit.
Like I was taught live one day at a time, and then later, as I stayed sober more, people started saying no. Sometimes it's 1 minute at a time. You have to focus on the moment, and you have to stay in the moment. And you have to have an open mind when it comes to that kind of stuff. So that's where I really relate to it. It's kind of like a cloud. Like when you're meditating, meditate a cloud that's in front of you, and then allow that cloud to be over the top of your head and then pass you by. When it's in front of you, you're looking at the cloud, and when it's above you and behind you, it's no longer a part of your vision, so it's not there.
Now is where we really only have our power, is now. Even when we think about the past, we're doing it now. When we think about the future, we're doing it now. Now is our PowerPoint, you
Hmm.
know?
Exactly. That's a lot of the stuff that really rung out in my head whenever you were talking. I didn't want to go on that tangent. This is technically supposed to be your interview, but it was really good hearing you say that, because that's some of the stuff I haven't been able to talk about in quite a long time. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I listened to your video, at least one of them, that where you were really talking about stuff like that, and with your ex, really, and all the things that kind of happened there, and how it was all jacked up and stuff. So so I kind of know what you're talking about a little bit.
Yeah, that was some pretty messed up stuff. You get trapped. It's like you're talking about getting trapped into. Well, for me personally, that's what I had to come to realize is like it doesn't matter if you're drunk or you're high or anything like that. You can be trapped sober just like you could if you were freaking influenced by, alcohol or drugs or any substance that alters your way of
Absolutely.
thinking. You
If you
know.
ask me to, you might get some new ideas if you're, if you're like on a substance or whatever. The substance might allow you, if you're normally in a sober mind, it might allow you to release the sober mind bullshit that's going on and to embrace something that's new. And I'm not trying to negate any of the uh, energies in the ethers that, manipulate substances, because there are those, so I'm not trying to give them power at all or anything like that. But I do know that, it's kind of the hair of the dog thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where that actually, if you allow it, can spawn or create some new openings in your reality to where you can grab something better than what might be your daily life.
Well, this takes us to a new level though, because like now we get into the part that you really like to talk about, and that's symbolism. Because like, okay,
Yeah.
with the alcohol and the drugs, I had to learn that alcohol was just a symbol. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it wasn't the problem, it was the symptom. You know what I mean? And a symptom's usually something that you see. You know what I mean? It's not
Mm-hmm.
not the cause of the problem. And
Mm-hmm.
symbolism has always been an issue, in my opinion, about everything. Like you can have problems with sex, you can have problems with drugs, you can have problems with alcohol, you can have problems with eating, you can have all of these things. You putting all that stuff, the bad stuff you're talking about, into your system. And the thing of it is it's a symbol. You know what I mean? It has to do with symbolizing or symbols and stuff like that. It's a representation more
Mm-hmm.
than it is anything
A,
else.
thought, a symbol is like a thought form, and it contains many different things than just what that thought might be. Like a beer can isn't just the thought of a beer can. For a lot of people, it could be the thought of like their shitty life they had when they were drinking all the time, or it could be the thought of, hey man, that was a cool time when I drank a beer or whatever. So it symbolism is one of the major ways that minds are manipulated, for
Right.
sure.
Right. No.
And a very mundane symbol, it doesn't even have to be as specific as a beer can. It could just be the wind blowing, for the love of God. Even just something that's like nature, like a tree in the background blowing in the wind, could be like, it could be used depending on what they want to do with it in some sort, it could be manipulated. Basically, symbols are the major manipulation, and they are the major things that magicians use, because they have an influence upon the greater masses rather than just one person. um, Depending on what they program people to believe, for example, the beer can means, then they can use the beer can in the future for what they program people for them to believe about the beer can. They could use that in a myriad of different ways, like so many different ways, like beer commercials, for example. I mean, those contain beer cans sometimes, usually, more so than anything else. So they could program you to think all kinds of stuff about a beer can, and then later on use it against you. And that's the whole thing about dark magicians, is they use things against you, which that is so not good. That's so bad. That's so like fucked up. And they have these little things that protect them, because they're magicians, so they don't get touched by all this, I guess you could call it repercussion or karma or whatever. I think karma might be even just a bullshit kind of thing that they put out there, and really just got a lot of people to behave in a certain way because they don't want the karma might come back or whatever the thing is. They at this point in time, as far as I can see, everything's manipulated. Everything is. So whether true karma exists or not, I don't know. I do see that there is a balance in things. There's absolutely a balance. If there's a balance that comes, it has to even out. Everything has to even out, and that's kind of like a law of nature, or like a natural law, kind of like that. It's not even, doesn't even have anything to do with karma. It just has to do with natural law. Like naturally, if it would be something that would happen. What I mean by natural is that hasn't been manipulated by either side.
Right.
And we all know the good side. I guess if we want to break it up in that duality, the good side isn't going to try and manipulate things. They're going to let things work themselves out naturally, whereas the assholes, or the bad side, or whatever, that side would try and make things work out in a particular way, basically. And it's not that exerting your influence upon reality or this world, that's not a bad thing. You have to exert your influence. You're here, you're exerting whether you know it or not. You're still exerting your influence on things, but they take it and they take it to past the extreme of just natural exertion, or and they take it and they work these little deals to where they come up with ways to influence people without them knowing. And that's the I don't want to say tragedy, but the downfall of those dudes or whatever. They're it's not just about what a person wants. Personally, yes, it is. Absolutely. Personally, it is. If I want to be this way, I want to be this way. Absolutely, it is. I think that's where it kind of breaks up a little bit, because they're exerting it. They're trying to exert what they want on other people, when only the real exertion can happen. It can only happen with themselves. Although the black magicians, they put up things around to where they don't suffer the repercussion, but that makes them look like, you ever seen a black magician? I mean, they're all like old and fucked up, and they're like not even cool looking. They're like, you can tell, you're like, I'm gonna stay away from you, dude. Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about old dudes at the bar that are like wizard looking. They have like all this shit going on, and they're like, hey, they're old, but they're not. Like, you could tell when you look in someone's eyes, you can tell if they're like, they got a little shine or they don't, kind of thing, whether they're good or bad, kind of thing. Even if they might talk all bad, you could still tell the strength of their words, where their intent is or what it's coming from. So if your intent is to manipulate and hurt others, then you can fuck off, pretty much, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Because it's not needed. I don't need that. Nobody needs that. Humanity, and that's the thing, is it's coming time to where humanity doesn't need none of that shit no more, dude. We're done with that shit. And maybe not everybody's awake. Maybe that's fine or whatever. I mean, that is what it is. More people are waking up all the time to their true selves. And that's what waking up is to your true self. And so these guys can just fuck off, dude. They can just give it fucking up already. Because, even though they have like technology and all this other stuff, they're still not able to infiltrate the human spirit. That's like, I don't think that can happen. I really don't, because how can, if you're an awake person and you see this bullshit coming in, how are you not going to go, fuck you, bullshit? You know what I mean? So that's where I advocate for the fuck you spirit, the one that's like, you know what, fuck you. And other people might think you're an asshole or whatever they might think is fine. But it's not that you're an asshole. It's that you're not going to put up with bullshit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they can't see that it's bullshit coming in or whatever. Doesn't mean that you have to do the P's and Q's thing and you have to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to sit here and be nice because everybody expects me to be nice. Fuck that shit, dude. For the love of God. I'm just saying. And that's the only
Just hearing you say it like that just kind of made me cringe because I know you enough to know that that shit's not gonna happen, dude. Like, not for you. I mean, not.
well, right. And so with the T-shirt thing, I'd like for it not to happen for anybody else either. They just gotta become aware of their own. I guess you could say power, but that's got so many things attached to it. But their own volition, like their own spirit.
So I'd like to
Will.
dig a little bit deeper on this thing with the symbolism because, like, what comes after symbolism? It's standards. Everybody has a standard, and the way it was taught to me was like you think about like back in the old days with the freaking armies, they would always carry their standards with them so that the general could look down on the battlefield and tell where his troops were.
I don't know what you mean by standards. That's really I don't know what you mean.
Well, in a philosophical way or metaphorical way or whatever, your standards, the way people hold themselves to a certain standard, or they have expectations, like you said, of other people according to a standard. You know what I mean? Now, I had to learn earlier on that, setting expectations on other people generally makes it to where you have freaking expectations that fail. You know what I mean? When you set expectations on other people and it doesn't go the way you plan it, it's usually because you're trying to control the situation. And it's usually because of your standard. And for me, I've seen where, like, what I really have a problem with is it's not that guy that looks like he's, or that he looks like he's evil to the core, you know what I mean, and shit like that. It's usually the opposite for me. It's usually those people who claim to be real spiritual and loving God and everything, and then they freaking talk about just crazy shit, you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden you find out they love God, but that only pertains to white people. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're white and freaking believe in the freaking Nazi movement, then I love you. But I ain't gonna talk to this person over here. You know what I mean? So that's an area that I really have an issue with, and I've noticed that, like, there's a lot of people who like to throw out that word love, but they really don't have love, you know what I mean? Like, what true love really is, you know what I mean? So that's one of the things I've noticed in it when it comes to, like, standards. People seem to set standards on other people, and you have to meet those standards or you don't, like, fit within that category of, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, those people fuck off.
So that was kind of what I was thinking when you was talking there when it comes to that, you know what I mean? And that really is sad that people are like that, and it doesn't help when somebody's trying to be positive and trying to live a positive life and do things, because it can drag you down as time goes by. So
yeah, depends on what you believe.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I've tried to keep my belief system open. You know what I mean? Like there's people, and that's hard too. Believe it or not, it is. I don't fall in line with religion. I pretty much backed off on the whole idea of believing in any kind of religion whatsoever. I'm okay with spirituality. Living a spiritual life is cool. I do agree with the spiritual principles that religion does have, and a lot of religious people don't understand that there is a difference between their spiritual principles and their religion. You know what I mean? And a lot of people who are spiritual that aren't religious have a hard time with that too.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that I'm about. So it makes it tough. Like, how you was talking about, like, the beer commercials.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn that, like, beer commercials. I can't allow a beer commercial be an excuse for me going out and getting drunk. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and a lot of people who are sobering up, the first mistake they do is they freaking think that they can shelter themselves away from drugs and they can shelter themselves away from alcohol. Stay away from the bars and stay away from the liquor stores and don't watch TV because they got beer commercials. You know what I'm saying? And then all the time they're thinking that shit, they're freaking fiending for it, you know? So I had to learn that freaking that's still freaking thinking about it. So you need to change your mind. You need to think about other things and kind of distract yourself from that way of thinking. You know what I mean?
I get a garage.
You know. So like my days now, I mean I've been sober for well over 20 years. I mean I don't even have the thought of alcohol. You know.
Woo!
And
I gotta go to the bathroom.
okay. But
Like very soon.
I am we're at 2 hours. Do you wanna give it up and maybe do this at another time?
It's totally up to you. I just gotta pee and then I'm good to go. Whatever.
Okay. So do you have to pee like right now?
Pretty much. We're in the next like minute, I would say.
Okay. So just let everybody know how they can get in touch with you and we can end this.
Oh, okay. Galacticfire.com. Basically, that's pretty much it. TEC, not TIC.
Okay. And you're on Skype and you're also always on Jaffe Writers WPRMP thing, and then
Usually jump on there. Yeah.
I don't know
And
if
then
I know
Skype,
yeah,
Instagram.
too, yeah. So
Yeah, I have a fake book, but.
well, let's not talk about fake book.
Woo!
But anyhow, I was glad to have you on here, man. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream and say thank you for being here, and we can do this later on. And
Yeah.
we didn't even talk about tarot cards.
I know, right? I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
I will talk to you later, okay?
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.